Danielle, and I'm here with my granddad, Dr. Chuck F. Betters. Granddad, the question we have for you today is one that we have answered before in the past, but I think it's important that we continue to answer these questions as they come rolling in. Everybody is so curious. Will I be reunited with my loved one in the afterlife?
Will I be reunited with my loved ones in the afterlife? Well, I want to say several things. First of all, thanks for the question. It is a question on all of our minds, especially those of us who have lost a loved one. I remember when I was first ordained into the ministry, well over 5 decades ago. I remember visiting an old man, and I don't mind giving you his name. His name was Frank Wooler. Frank was dying. His daughter told me that there was no one that she knew of that knew more about the Bible than Frank. I remember going to his house as a young pastor, visiting this old man, walking into that room, and he was reading the scriptures. His daughter told me, make sure you look at my dad's Bible before you leave. So I asked Frank if I could look at his Bible, and I saw in that Bible hundreds, thousands of markings where that man clearly was dissecting the scriptures. His daughter told me of a vision that he had while he was dying, and I believe this to be a legitimate vision. He was kind of comatose, in and out of consciousness. And his daughter relates the fact that he sat up in his bed one day and he said 2 things. I see it, I see it, I see it. And he went on to say, I wish I had studied more. I wish I had studied more. I wish I knew the Bible better. Now, this man had page markings where he could tell you which verse was on which page of the Bible. Look at chapter whatever, verse whatever, upper right-hand side of whatever page of my Bible. That's how well he knew it. And yet he's seeing something that was inexplicable. He went on to say, secondly, after declaring that he knew very little about the Bible, honestly, in my opinion, the man had forgotten more than I've ever learned even to this day. But he said, I see him. I see him. Who did he see? His daughter later learned it was his brother. His brother, who had gone on to be with the Lord, appeared to him. He saw a vision of heaven. That's why I tell people, when your loved one is dying, listen closely to what they're saying, because they are closer to heaven than we are. And they see things and hear things that we cannot see and we cannot hear. When Jesus was transfigured in Matthew 17, and Elijah and Moses appeared with him, the disciples were so moved by what they saw. It was one of them who said, while he was still speaking, a bright cloud received him. But Peter said to Jesus, Lord, it is good for us to be here. Peter saying, it's good for us to be wherever we are. They clearly thought they were in heaven because they were seeing things they could not explain. The Apostle Paul would later do the same thing. He would say, I was caught up to the 3rd heaven, and I saw things that cannot be described. But what does Peter say at the Transfiguration? It's good for us to be here. Then he makes this incredible statement. Let me build 3 tents, one for you one for Moses and one for Elijah. I like to jokingly say, but not really, that Peter had never seen Moses. He had never seen Elijah. He did not know what they looked like. He didn't have the Sunday school papers with the artist renderings that we do. But somehow he knew, while he thought he was in heaven, that was Moses and that was Elijah. He knew who they were. He named them by name. He wanted to build tabernacles or tents or dwelling places so that he would not have to leave this place. Will you recognize your loved ones in heaven? Undoubtedly, because we are not bound by time or matter or space when we're in eternity. All that becomes one. Time and matter and space all become one when we are in eternity. That's why we will, listen to my words now, instantly recognize our loved ones. Instantly remember everything there is to know about the affliction and pain and sorrow that we experienced that is now turned into joy and blessing where there are no more questions. Friends, years ago when we started Ask Dr. Betters, one of the most popular questions was this one: will we recognize our loved ones in heaven? Will we know them? It's not heaven if we don't. Because when we get to heaven, we are in the presence of an eternal God where there is no sin or sorrow or pain or affliction or tears anymore. The only tears, I put that word in quotes, we will have in heaven are tears of joy. And just like Peter, we will recognize Moses, Elijah, Peter, James, John, our loved ones who knew Jesus, and that's the key. We'll only recognize those who are there as our fellow believers only if they trusted in Christ and Christ alone for their salvation. That's why it's so important that we share salvation with our loved ones. Someone told me once, all the riches that we have in an earthly sense, they're all buried with us. The only thing we can take to heaven is our loved ones. I like to put it this way: the only possession you will ever take with you to heaven are your children, if you teach them that Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Hope this gives you help. Hope this gives you comfort. Visit us at MARKINC.org to learn more about this ministry.